मेरी आ रही है आवाज? आपकी आवाज नहीं आई मुझे।
हमारी आवाज आ रही है आपको?
हाँ, अभी आ रही।
ठीक है।
ओके।
Hello, this is Syed Hashimi from Houston.
Hi, this is Prasenjit Pal from India. I'm former executive director in TPC.
இன்னும் பைக்ஸ் இருக்கடா நமக்கு. ஒரு பெட்டி மாடல் வேணுமா? ஏதாவது பேசுறோம்னா हमारा तो आ नहीं रहा है। आ रहा है?
अभी तो 3 बजे शुरू होगा ना सर।
Sir, your audio video is clear.
मैं कर देती हूँ सर।
I am connected.
Yes, sir, you are connected, sir. Your video, audio both are clear.
Clear, but video I am not able to see.
But we can see you very well, sir.
That's very good. Oh, you can see.
Yes, sir.
Why I can't see? On my screen, I have a bigger screen here. वो हम कुछ आपने टेक्निक लगा दिया है।
नहीं सर, ये आपके एंड में होगा कुछ छोटा।
हाँ, अच्छा किसी का नहीं आ रहा है, वही बात सही है, लेकिन मेरा तो नाम भी नहीं आ रहा है।
आपका भी नाम भी आ रहा है सर?
आ रहा है?
यस सर।
अच्छा चलो फिर ठीक है, ओके, आवाज तो ठीक है।
It is clear.
Good afternoon, Shahi Sahab.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good.
Grover sir, very good. Very good. Thanks. You could make time.
Yes, I'm ready. I was just trying to check my presentation. You are able to see it, I think.
I'm able to see you. I think we will be able to see your presentation.
And presentation is moving.
Yeah. Three important terms.
Very good. Very good. So,
Legislative favor. Yeah, it is there.
I'm ready. So we can start on time.
Yeah. We just normally give 5 minutes for everybody to be there.
Yes.
We'll start at definitely without fail at 3:05.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Gaur साहब.
हाँ, good afternoon, Verma ji.
कैसे हैं?
So I thought of sharing the rationale behind the Shanti Act with everybody. Oh,
Yes.
yes, I see people are joining in. Dilwar Singh Chaudhary is also there, former director, operations NPCIL.
Good
Okay,
afternoon,
okay.
sir.
Good afternoon, Chaudhary ji. कैसे हैं?
Very fine, sir. What about you?
Good.
Nice to see you again after a long time.
Yes. आप दिल्ली चले गए इसलिए यहाँ रहते तो मिलते रहते.
Yes, sir. There were some family requirements. I shifted to Delhi.
Yeah, that's okay. अभी तो दिल्ली में भी बहुत कुछ हो रहा है.
हाँ जी हाँ, कुछ होगा आसपास तो ज्वाइन जरूर करेंगे सर.
नहीं, अगर आप इंटरेस्टेड है तो मुझे कई लोग पूछते रहते हैं, मैं आपको पास ऑन कर दूंगा इन्फॉर्मेशन.
Yeah, sure. It will be my pleasure.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
हाँ.
You did, yeah.
वो घर पर हाँ
इसको फोन को करता हूँ.
म्यूट कर लीजिए तब तक. ग्रोवर साहब, you can mute.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
तबीयत कैसी है राकेश?
ठीक है, ठीक है.
ठीक है, ठीक है.
Dr. Grover, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I was on mute. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yes. Good to see you. You are joining from office, looks like.
Myself and Mr. Maltesha, we have joined.
Acha, okay, okay.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Prasanjit.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Prasanjit.
Gaur Sahab, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Verma Sahab, namaskar.
नमस्कार, नमस्कार.
Good afternoon, Grover sir.
Good
Mazumdar
afternoon.
here.
Yes, oh, good to see you after a long time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Nice to see you too. Hello, Prasenjit. Nice to see you. Thank you for inviting me.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Nice to see you too.
Shahi Sahib, I don't know if you remember me. I was with Dr. Jain, CMD NPCL at that time. We interacted a few times.
Grover, am I audible?
Yes, yes, very
now
much audible.
I will limit my point.
Yes, sir,
Thank you.
audible.
Huh?
I will limit my point. Looking forward to rules. 700 really transferable. And I'll give some credit कि आपने 700 अच्छा.
Namaskar, sir.
Okay.
Grover साहब नमस्कार.
Namaskar, Samuel.
शेखर साहब नमस्कार. बहुत दिन के बाद देख रहे हैं, मिल रहे हैं सर.
हाँ, शेखर साहब, नमस्कार. Good afternoon, Samal.
पाल साहब से तो मिले थे अभी. Afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
सर इसीलिए तो ये वेबिनार ऑर्गेनाइज किया है कि चलिए कम से कम ऑनलाइन मुलाकात हो जाएगी.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Definitely, sir.
Hello, Shekhar.
Good afternoon, Dr. Grover, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We are sitting in IIT Madras.
Oh,
to everybody.
IIT Madras. Okay.
Afternoon,
Oh,
sir.
Kalol
Your
Rai.
batchmate, Mr.
Yes.
R. Prabhakar Venkatraman,
Yes.
and Dr. Vijay from BRC, and Rajini Madam was of finance director and CMD for some time in Bhavani.
Oh, good to see all of you there from IIT
Yes.
Madras.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Venkatraman, you are also in IIT Madras?
No, I just all medalists of columns, sir.
Okay, okay.
Grover, Venkatraman is everywhere. No.
Oh.
Mr. Mahajan, have you joined? Mr. Mahajan?
Yes, sir, I am there.
He is there. I think there are many
Actually,
people.
there is no power in my house, so the camera probably is not picking up the picture.
No problem in my case also. But then I think we already have our 50 people. So maybe in another 2 minutes we can start. Mahajan ji?
Good afternoon, Mahajan sir. Good afternoon,
Yes.
Mahajan sir.
Good
Myself,
afternoon. Good
Sumit
afternoon, sir.
BHL,
Good
sir.
afternoon.
Ravi Verma from BHL. Sir.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, my dear Tiwari.
Good afternoon, sir. Yeah.
Mr. Jha.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. IEF Jha is there. Mr. Anil Jha is there. We have
We have a
Jha lined up.
large participation. I think already, I wonder how many people are there? 52.
We have 50 already.
Vivek Sharma ji is there.
Vivek would join. Just now he was mentioning.
Other speakers are already there.
Okay.
Samad Saab is there. Grover Saab is there. Tiwari Saab is there.
Good.
So we can start.
Okay.
Go ahead. Mr. Mahajan is our convener for this.
As the
Secretary General.
Secretary General of India Energy Forum and convener of the Nuclear Energy Group of IEF, it's my proud privilege to welcome all. Right in the beginning, we have crossed half a century, and I am very hopeful by the time we progress, more than 100 participants will be joining. We have kept the topic of the webinar as Shanti Act on Nuclear Power, Legislation to Action. And besides Mr. R.B. Shahi, the President, India Energy Forum, Dr. R.B. Grover, Member AEC and Chairman of the Nuclear Energy Group of India Energy Forum, Shri A.P. Samal, who is the CEO of NTPC Parmanu Urja Nigam, Shri C.P. Tiwari, Head Business Development and Service and Technology, Tata Power, and Shri Vivek Sharma, Business Head, Nuclear Energy and Chief Energy Strategy. They will all be participating as speakers. Shanti Act, very exotic name, Sustainable Harnessing and Advancement of Nuclear Energy for Transformation of India. That has been enacted by the Parliament in December, and it replaces the Atomic Energy Act of 1961 and the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act. A lot of provisions which probably have not been assimilated. So we thought that a knowledgeable person like Dr. Grover, who was involved in the drafting of this, and he had commented on certain provisions, he has very kindly agreed to talk on the legislative framework of the nuclear power in India, and he will be giving the plus points of the legislation and how it has evolved and what are the provisions. This will be followed by presentations and discussions by Tata Power, by NTPC, and by Adani representatives to present their perspectives and any impediments which they feel to accelerate the nuclear power generation so as to achieve the 100 gigawatt target by 2047. So without wasting any further time, I would request Shri Shahi, President, India Energy Forum, to please deliver his presidential address.
Thank you, Mr. Mahajan, and thank you, Dr. Grover, for accepting. Of course, you are the chairman of the nuclear group in India Energy Forum. But in any case, as per the requirement, as per the general approach that we do, we welcome you to this conference webinar to enlighten us in detail what is there in the legislation and how we go about it. In fact, for the title of this webinar itself, we had a couple of minutes of discussion. And I said that learning so much about making act and how do we make the act actually. Therefore, I suggested that let us put this title, Legislation to Action. How do we move about this? Where there could be legislation and then we are waiting for many things to happen and then action may get delayed. So far as nuclear power in our basket of energy is concerned, basket of power sector is concerned, we have been quite concerned, as everybody knows, about the marginal role in terms of proportion, a very significant role in terms of quality, but in terms of quantity, a very marginal role. And when, of course, before I stepped in here in the India Energy Forum, I was just looking to one of the articles I had put in my earlier book, Energy Security and Climate Change. And one article is on the nuclear power in detail, and that was in December 2008. And that article had happened just after the nuclear suppliers agreement had been signed, and then post-nuclear power supply agreement, Nuclear Supply Act, what needs to be done. And in that conference, fortunately, that was a conference, a conclave of India Energy Forum in December 2008, not webinar, conclave. And in that conclave, we had very distinguished personalities. We had Dr. Kakodkar himself, Dr. D.V. Kapoor and others. I was there. And it is in that conference we stressed, how do we take it forward now? That is almost now 2008 to now, about 17, 18 years. And in that conference also this point was made that now if we have to go further, and the number of figures were floated, this capacity, that capacity, obviously institutionally we will have to organize ourselves. Not in the manner that we are organized, institutionally we have to organize, legislatively we have to organize, and that is the time it was discussed that we should make changes, require changes in the Atomic Energy Act, so that nuclear power in the family of power sector occupies a significant, respectful role in terms of not only quality of its work, but also in terms of quantity of power. In the last 4 years of the India Energy Forum, when we started a number of webinars, I think we might have done 3-4 webinars. We have done with 2 successive atomic energy secretaries, non-virtual programs. And I must say, apart from India Energy Forum, a number of other organizations, individuals have been working for this. And finally, this legislation has happened. This legislation is a great thing. It's a historic legislation that it allows larger participation of public sector, private sector in the development of nuclear power. But then in Power Ministry, we used to say that act is necessary, but it is not sufficient. Unless act is acted upon, act can remain there. So therefore, time is now to make up for the shortfalls that we create ourselves in terms of capacity from the nuclear side. What is it that we need to do that this is expedited and accelerated? And it is very crucial. It is very crucial that the procedure that we adopt, the process and the institutions that we engage in terms of sort of clearances, sanctions, technology, capability of institutions and organizations to do the project, also our manufacturing sector. Unless we gear up from all angles, it would be very difficult. We have the experience. I recall when we were even bringing the Electricity Act 2003, around that time, we put Central City Authority into action. And Central City Authority had done 100,000 megawatt thermal initiative. And this 100,000 megawatt thermal initiative consisted of a large number of thermal power locations, primarily sort of pre-feasibility, just as it has also done 50,000 megawatt of hydroelectric initiative. I think some actions, if they are coordinated, if they are initiated by governmental agencies, those actions, if they are followed up by implementation agency, becomes fast, and that helped. 100,000 megawatt thermal initiative action of Central City Authority in terms of specific projects, locations from where coal will be taken, from where water will be taken, etc., etc. That helps then the developers. Ultra mega project, when it was conceived, we went further. Land acquisition, environmental clearance. I think these are some of the things which need to be talked about. Department of Atomic Energy has not been used so extensively on development of large number of projects. Department of Atomic Energy had to think very clearly how to go about it. Creating too many channels of sanctions and clearances is definitely going to make a big problem. So I think, so far as Parliament of the country is concerned, they have given their consent. This is one of the legislations which was done so fast. I don't see any legislation of this magnitude and this significance and importance which could be passed in Parliament without having to go through the consultative committee, standing committee quickly, because people are enthused. And there has been general acceptance of this legislation in the country. So now it is for all of us who are engaged in this, the departments, other than departments. I must also say the amount of response that has come from public sector and private sector, they are all preparing for it. And therefore, this is time we should take this opportunity further and see how best we design our things. We should, from India Energy Forum, be in a position to make specific recommendations to the government that this is the time that is happening. I have just now also discovered some of the loose ends which are already there with different interpretations. Like Electricity Act 2003 is very clear that power generation is de-licensed. Here we have used the word license. See, license and giving permission and giving clearance, these are different things. If environmental clearance is given by the Ministry of Environment.
Yes, doctor. Yes.
Hello?
Please. Hello. Welcome. Please welcome.
Please mute yourself, all of you. When environmental clearance is obtained from Ministry of Environment, that is not a license. So there could be clearances, there could be permissions to move forward, but to confuse this with the phrase license, I think so far as power generation is concerned in India, that is de-licensed as per the Electricity Act. Electricity Act extensively covers electricity policy, national electricity policy extensively covers also the nuclear power role and what to be done. And therefore, these are the issues which need to be deliberated and taken up with, this is the right state, taken up with the Department of Atomic Energy, who will be initiating the process. So I think at this stage, those are some of these. Land could be a problem, water allocation could be a problem, environmental clearance would be a problem. Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, if they have to handle to get to 50,000 megawatt capacity in next few years, and which is the target, not 100,000, even 50,000 megawatt. Obviously, the type of clearances that are required from them, they need to be strengthened significantly. So I think these are some of the issues which we need to see, how we translate this legislation into action culminating into setting up of capacities, and setting up capacities leading to a significant contribution, not a contribution in the range of 2 to 3% of power generation, but a major, maybe 7%, 8%, in that range, almost touching 10% in the time frame that we are talking. That is possible provided we take care of all these aspects and avoid getting into derailment on issues of multiplicity of organizations, multiplicity of clearances, multiplicity of agencies, etc., etc. So with these words, I now request Dr. Grover to make his keynote address and presentation, and then that will be followed by, fortunately, we have both public sector and private sector organizations which will be making their suggestions as to how we should go about this. So specifically, the goal is directed toward, you have the Parliament has given you the legislation, how do you take it forward to give the capacity? Thank you very much.
I think Dr. Grover doesn't need any introduction. He is well known to the participants. And Shaisa made a good statement that unless the act is acted upon, it is incomplete. So how the act has evolved and what are the major provisions, how it will help the private sector to profitably generate nuclear power to achieve the target of 100 gigawatt, that Dr. Grover will be speaking on that. Dr. Grover, please.
Thank you, Mahajan. Thank you, Mr. Shahi. Well, why I have chosen on this topic and the way I have framed the lecture, that reason will be, I'll start with explaining the reason. If we go back to 2 years or 3 years back, 2023, many statements were coming from various senior people from the government that to enable private sector participation, only 1 or 2 sentences in the act need to be changed. Everything else is okay. This is something which, if I use the word alarmed me, it will not be any exaggeration. So I started talking to people in the government. There was a major meeting in July 24, for which a presentation was made, and it became clear to those who was thinking in terms of 1 or 2 lines change, no, a major change is needed. Nuclear sector has certain peculiarities. They will become clear as we proceed further. So after July 24 meeting, I thought it's better I write them down in the form of a research paper. I wrote that, and that paper was published in Current Science in January 25. And after that, opinions changed, that things started moving. And all those issues which in my view are critical have been incorporated in the Act. Let me start with the presentation. I'll start with 3 very important terms which are used by nuclear industry. And Mr. Shahi just said that why a license is needed. That also will become clear once we go analyze these 3 terms and history on the basis of which these 3 terms have come. These are safeguards, security, and safety. One may tend to translate all 3 of them into Hindi as Suraksha, but it is not one term. These 3 terms have specific meanings. Safeguards refer to nuclear material accounting, and for that accounting, surveillance, verification, containment, so many technologies are used. Everything related to nuclear material has to be accounted for. Security means physical security. Nuclear security refers to physical protection of nuclear materials and nuclear facilities. When I say physical security, the meaning becomes clear, and it is particularly important to us given the geopolitical circumstances around India, in and around India. Nuclear safety refers to achieving proper operating conditions, preventing accidents, and mitigating their consequences to protect workers, the public, and the environment from undue radiation risk. Normally, people tend to think only this safety, not the other 2 aspects, physical security and safeguards. Many people outside of nuclear establishment are not aware of the implications of those issues. Safety and physical security of nuclear facilities and material are important. I think there cannot be any arguments. But the issues which influence increased exploitation of nuclear power are safeguards, and related to safeguards are export controls. Both are linked to NPT, the Treaty on Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. Of course, they predate NPT. Some rudimentary form of export controls and safeguards are present even before that, but I'll explain them as we go forward. So because of these issues, the global nuclear regime which has evolved is complex. It comprises international treaties, United Nations resolutions, guidelines of the International Atomic Energy Agency, that is IAEA, and standards of International Commission on Radiation Protection, that is ICRP, which is the global body which sets standards in the area of radiation protection. And there are informal understandings, and informal understandings are equally important. Nuclear Suppliers Group, which exercise a great deal of control on how nuclear equipment, nuclear fuel is traded internationally, is an informal group. It does not have a legal standing. India has been engaged in harnessing nuclear science and technology for the welfare of the nation, and while doing so has honored all the legal obligations which India has undertaken, and also all the informal understandings which influence us. While doing so, India has demonstrated a commitment to safety following a science-based approach to regulation. And this is very important, science-based approach to regulation. And this has to continue when India expands the role of nuclear power. The one point which we have to understand, which is peculiar only to this particular generation technology, that nuclear fuel cycle for generating electricity and for producing nuclear weapons, they are intertwined. And this influences growth of nuclear power. I'll explain this as I proceed further. I think just one small point about the fact that non-power application, this is contained in the long title of the SHANTI Act. So I thought I'll just devote 1 minute to that nuclear technology can be used in the area of healthcare. When I say healthcare, all three aspects, diagnosis, therapy, and sterilization. Industry, that is scanning, gauging, cross-linking within polymer, molecule, etc. Agriculture for mutation of seeds, for fertilizer uptake studies, food preservation, and research. And these applications are so widespread that in countries where surveys have been done with regard to the contribution of non-power application and compared with power application, they have found, and these surveys have been done in USA, South Korea, Japan, that non-power application contribute as much to GDP, as much to employment generation as power applications. This is something which are included in SHANTI Act. So how the nuclear regime has evolved, I'll start from way back from 1945. Many of you must have watched the movie Oppenheimer, which talks about Trinity tests conducted on 16 July 1945, followed by use of nuclear weapons on 6th and 9th August 1945 in Japan. And this devastation was so extensive that the US government commissioned a report which is known as Lilienthal report. This report came out in 1946, and Robert Oppenheimer, who was the director of the nuclear weapons program, was a member of this particular committee which produced the report. And what they found was that the development of atomic energy for peaceful purposes and the development of atomic energy for bombs are in much of their course interchangeable and interdependent. And conclusion was that a system of inspection superimposed on an otherwise uncontrolled exploitation of atomic energy by national government will not be adequate safeguard. This sentence is to be noted because this is the beginning of nuclear safeguard. And just when a side point, the UN Charter was drafted just 3 weeks.
Please mute yourself. Others who are not speaking, please mute yourself. It is disturbing. Please mute yourself.
So UN Charter was drafted 3 weeks before the Trinity tests, and this doesn't talk about nuclear weapons. This is an interesting point, which UN is the most important international body, and there is no mention of the tests in that. Next important event historically was the speech by the then US President Eisenhower in 1953, United Nations General Assembly. It proposed International Atomic Energy Agency, and another important part was it combined sharing with surveillance. Just note down, sharing with surveillance. The speech was titled Atoms for Peace, but many academics have written about it. You can have your own view after reading the speech, but what it evolved into is control over the atom, even when used for peace. This was followed by setting up of an 18-nation committee on disarmament in 1961. This committee was tasked to draft NPT. By 64, there were 5 nuclear weapons powers. The Treaty on Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons was opened for signature on 1st July 1968. It entered into force on 5th March 1970, and it was meant only for 25 years, but in 1995, it was extended indefinitely. These dates are important. Why they are important? India elected Atomic Energy Act in 1962. That was 8 years before NPT coming into force. So now we have to see how exactly, what more we have to include in the Act, which has evolved subsequently. So let us see the regime which has resulted from the NPT. 5 states recognized as nuclear weapon state. For NPT, only those states which have manufactured and exploded a nuclear weapon before 1st January 1967 are called as NWS, and other states are non-nuclear weapon states. The nuclear programs of all non-nuclear weapon states are under safeguard by IAEA, and to meet safeguard obligations, all nuclear weapon states are obligated to sign what is known as Comprehensive Safeguards Agreement. When I say comprehensive, it means every facility in non-nuclear weapon states is under safeguards. For those countries which are not party to NPT, like India, for them there is a provision of facility-specific safeguards. That is, those facilities which rely on any international cooperation, only they will come under safeguards. And purpose of safeguard is to prevent diversion of nuclear energy from peaceful use to nuclear weapons or other nuclear explosive devices. To implement NPT, Zenger Committee was set up in 1971. Essentially, it meant implementing export controls. Zenger Committee, Zenger understanding, they are called this established list of material and equipment and 3 conditions for the supply: a non-explosive use assurance, an IAEA safeguards requirement, and a retransfer provision that requires the receiving state to apply the same conditions when re-exporting these items. I think note down this IAEA safeguards requirement and facility-specific safeguards. Subsequently, in 1975, Nuclear Supplier Group, which is an informal grouping, was set up. It adopted guidelines for international trade in nuclear technology, but it was largely inactive during 1975 to 1992. Then in 1992, it started working on a framework for export controls. It established framework for dual use items. Dual use items are those items which can be used both for nuclear purposes and also for non-nuclear purposes. So the items which can be used only for nuclear purposes are known as trigger list items, and dual use item. This established two different lists. Now, another thing which they changed, that NSD guidelines require the application of full scope safeguards. Now, NPT talks only about facility specific safeguards for states who are not party to NPT. Now it becomes full scope safeguard in 1992 by NSD guidelines. So these are then going beyond NPT. So now coming to India and the NPT, India was a member of the 18-nation committee on disarmament that drafted NPT, was taking active part in drafting of NPT, but then October 1964, China detonated first nuclear weapon. After that, India did not take interest. India looked for security guarantees, but they were not forthcoming from any country. Therefore, India decided not to sign the NPT, though there have been calls throughout the history that India should sign NPT. And any one of you who is interested in knowing the historical aspects of the period right up to 1972-73 should read the book Plowshares and Swords, published by Jaida Sarkar of Cornell University in 2022. Subsequently, as you know, in 1998, we had Shakti series of tests. The then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee said in Lok Sabha on 27th May 1998, India is now a nuclear weapon state. This is a reality that cannot be denied. It is not a conferment that we seek, nor is it a status for others to grant. It is an endowment to the nation by our scientists and engineers. And you note a bipartisan support in our country for this approach, because on 29th November 2009, Manmohan Singh stated that India was prepared to join NPT as a sixth nuclear weapon state. So it is a support from all parts. So as a result of all this, nuclear regime has evolved. NPT I talked about earlier, and comprehensive nuclear test ban treaty was negotiated and signed but has not entered into force. It is kind of dead. You must be hearing about FMCT, fissile material cutoff treaty. This has been talked about, I think, maybe last 3 decades, but nothing is coming out of it. Essentially, there is no progress towards disarmament. But at the same time, there are no qualitative and quantitative checks on vertical proliferation. So neither disarmament nor checks on proliferation, but the instruments that are restrictive on non-nuclear weapon states are thriving. For example, Nuclear Suppliers Group, it has established export controls, imposing extensive reporting obligations for governments, safeguards, comprehensive and facility specific. For India, it is facility specific. Strengthened safeguards, that is additional protocol. Safeguards and export controls are linked to NPT while they may be predating NPT. Then there are guidelines of IAEA, standards of ICRP. And then in 2009, President Obama gave a speech in Prague that led to nuclear security summit process. 4 summits were held in 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016, which resulted into strengthened security regime, which resulted in the Convention on the Physical Protection of Nuclear Material and its 2005 amendment getting wide coverage. Most of the countries signed it, and it is through this, as at least this particular process, I was personally involved as the government of, as a sous-chef of the government of India in a preparatory meeting of all the 4 summits. Where do we stand today? India conducted nuclear tests in 1998. There was intense diplomatic activity, and the result was growing acceptance of India as a responsible nuclear power, and these efforts led to NSD revising its guidelines in 2008 to facilitate civil nuclear trade with India. It was a reversal of its 95 decision, and it resulted in restoration of facility-specific safeguards. I said in 1992, NSD changed facility-specific safeguards to comprehensive safeguards, but here in 2008, it was a reversal of that decision, and we were able to get to facility-specific safeguards. This is something, since I was, as a part of the negotiating team, I was myself a technical member of all the teams. I know the difficulties through which we went through during the period 2004 to 2008. And this removed a major constraint for the expansion of nuclear power program, as it was now we were able to import uranium. In parallel, NPCIL has developed the 700 megawatt pressurized heavy water reactor with complete supply chain in India. Now, there was one constraint, that is availability of uranium. That constraint now we have overcome. There is a challenge with regard to indigenous technology. That also now we have overcome. And now only India is ready for an ambitious nuclear power program. What is the implication of safety, security, and safeguards? As far as the provisions related to safety and security are concerned, there are no difficulties. Rather, as the safety measures have improved, plant capacity factors, and so profitability of nuclear technology has improved. Security is a necessity due to the prevailing geopolitical scenario. Particularly in our country, this is very much necessary. Compliance with safety provision is burdensome. Why safeguards? One needs to recall the fundamentals of physics, the fission reaction, and the concepts of critical mass. I'm not going to details of this. I only say that only 5 kilograms of nearly pure or weapon-grade plutonium-239 or 15 kilograms of uranium-235 is needed to achieve critical mass, which can become a nuclear bomb. These amounts are very small. Now, as a result of all this, India has taken certain international commitments in the area of safeguards. There is the agreement between the Government of India and IAEA for application of safeguards to civilian nuclear facility. IAEA publishes all documents as information circulars and puts on its website. This particular document is INF-CERC 754. It was dated 29th May 2009. Then there is a protocol additional to the agreement, this safeguards agreement. This is also the website. This is addendum 6 to 754, dated August 2014. And the latest list of facilities which India has offered for safeguard, that is addendum 12. So all these documents, you just type these numbers and you will be able to get from IAEA website, and you can download them, you can read them. In the area of security, IAEA has a particular guide. There are several of them. The most important is Information Circular 225 Division 5. Division 5 was issued in 2008 when India was negotiating agreement for cooperation with USA. At that time, the available revision was Revision 4, and Division 4 is mentioned in the bilateral agreement signed by India and the USA, and it also says when new revision of these documents are issued, this will stand upgraded, and this also is available on DAE website as well as MEA website. One can download it and read that. India also has signed convention on physical protection of nuclear material, including its 2005 amendments, and India has to adhere to all the security conditions which are contained therein. with regard to safety, India is a party to Convention on Nuclear Safety, having signed and ratified it. And there are several documents and guides with IAEA. I must say, all the documents and guides and deliberations which take place in the annual meeting on the Convention on Nuclear Safety are very helpful to member states, so that one learns a lot from the operating conditions and practices of other countries. Moving on, we have civil liability for nuclear damage, and for that there is a convention on supplementary compensation. India is a party to that. At the time of getting waivers from NSG for international trade, a letter was written by the then External Affairs Minister Pranab Mukherjee on 5th September 2008. I have two quotes from that letter. We have in place an effective and comprehensive system of nuclear export controls, which has been constantly updated to meet the highest international standards. This is manifested in the enactment of Weapons of Mass Destruction and Their Delivery Systems Act in 2005. India has taken the necessary steps to secure nuclear materials and technology through comprehensive export control legislation and through harmonization and committing to adhere to missile technology control regime and nuclear suppliers guidelines. Note this harmonization and committing to adhere. Then it goes on to say India will not be a source of proliferation of sensitive technologies, including enrichment and reprocessing transfers. Both enrichment and reprocessing are considered as sensitive technologies. This letter talks about enrichment and reprocessing. Heavy water production also is considered as sensitive. This was on 5th September 2008. Then on 8th September 2008, Foreign Secretary at that time, Mr. Shiv Shankar Menon, he wrote to Director General IAEA and closed various documents related to export controls, and all of them are available as an information circular from IAEA websites. Next, on 9th May 2016, PMI Vienna, that is Permanent Mission of India in Vienna, they wrote to Director General IAEA, and that letter says India would like to convey its decision to continue to act in accordance with NST guidelines. Earlier in 2008, language is committing to adhere. Here it is continue to act. And then if you go to NST website, it says date of adherence to NST guidelines by India as 9th May 2016, the same date as the letter from Permanent Mission of India to Vienna. So accordingly, India has been periodically updating its export control to ensure that they are harmonious with NSG guidelines. So what I want to say here that any person engaged in atomic energy must take cognizance of safety, security, safeguards, export controls, civil liability for nuclear damage, and there are other engineering activities like quality control, and those issues are common to all, so I have not listed them here. And all this has been built into the SHANTI Act. The Act has placeholders to provide details in rules, regulations, and notification. Those details which will come in rules and regulations are going to reflect, or they have to reflect, all the commitments which Government of India has made. So this is something which everyone in DI, whether NPCIL or Bhavini or NFC or Heavy Water Board, all the DI units have been following right from the beginning on a continuous basis. And whatever we have done, despite all export control, all safeguards issue, is a result of all the constraints, and these constraints will remain even after the SHANTI Act coming into force. The idea of giving all these details in the Shanti Act is to transparently inform newcomers about what are their duties and liabilities. Atomic Energy Act 1962 is silent about it because at that time this framework was not there, and there was no need to amend that, since once public sector, whether it's Bhavini or NPCL, they follow guidelines of the government. Now all these guidelines are embedded in the Act. So what is my message to newcomers? I will like to give a quote from Nobel laureate physicist Richard Feynman, who was a member of the Rogers Commission, which analyzed the disaster of the space shuttle coming down. And all of you perhaps can recall, this was in mid-1980s, that a gasket which was not meant for use in at cryogenic temperature was used. The result was a space shuttle disaster, losing all lives of all the, I think, 3 or 4, 5 astronauts who were in there. He said in the report, for a successful technology, reality must take precedence. Reality must take precedence over public relations, for nature cannot be fooled. By nature, one has to interpret it. Science cannot be fooled. So let me say, translate this into nuclear technology. Nuclear technology is unforgiving. It needs long-term commitment, and there is no place for indulging in regulatory tricks. And I have taken this word regulatory tricks from the work of a famous economist, Samuel Gomor, who says that regulatory tricks, zero-sum games, etc., they don't yield to innovations. They yield only to disasters. So again, talking specifically about nuclear energy, no one can fudge the half-life of a radioisotope. No one can circumvent the fact that prompt neutrons are emitted within about 10 to the power minus 14 seconds. They will keep happening like that only. So nuclear power program in India has matured, underpinned by its strength in nuclear science and technology, industrial prowess. When I say industrial prowess, I mean both private and public sector, because all the equipment has been manufactured by private sector, and responsible conduct of atomic affairs. This is very important, including export controls, safeguards, safety, and security. All newcomers must adhere to responsible conduct. So message to newcomers is, nuclear industry can thrive only if we imagine, conceive, and pursue it as a well-regulated engineering endeavor. Therefore, what I will advise newcomers, unleash your engineering spirits. And again, I'm modifying this word from what economists use, animal spirits. We don't need animal spirits from private sector. We need engineering spirits here. That is very important. So with this background, I'll quickly spend next few minutes on Shanti Act. That is something which all of you can read. But what has come into Shanti Act, this is the basis for that. If Department of Atomic Energy and MEA have report on safeguards to IAEA, they will need data. Data has to come from licenses. So for that, license has to be issued. Here, I think a long title is something where everything is included. That is power generation, application in healthcare, food, water, agriculture, industry, research, environment, innovation in science and technology, and for the welfare of the people of India, and for robust regulatory framework for its safe and secure utilization and matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. It has a long preamble which informs about the responsible pursuit of nuclear energy with an excellent record in nuclear safety and radiation safety. It describes nuclear energy as clean and abundant. It reiterates ongoing pursuit of a closed fuel cycle to enable sustainability of nuclear fuel resources. So this is very important. So far, whenever we DAE had talked about closed fuel cycle, we had to refer to the paper written by Homi Bhabha in 1955 and presented in a conference at NPL New Delhi. Now it is a part of the Act itself. It underlines commitment to enhance the share of nuclear energy, highlights application of nuclear science and technology in energy, healthcare, food, water, agriculture, etc., and wants to harness potential of nuclear energy through active involvement of both private and public sector. So, private sector participation, both private and public sector can own and operate nuclear power under a license by DAE and safety authorization by the board. Source material and fissile material remain under the surveillance and control of central government and prescribed safeguards. I think this is important. And let me tell you that this is so under every country around the globe. Even nuclear weapon states have surveillance. Heavy water used in a nuclear facility is to remain under the supervision of central government. It permits research, development, and innovation by private sector. Reprocessing and the heavy water production to remain under the central government. Enrichment up to a certain threshold may be allowed, but only after a notification has been issued. As I said earlier, in the global nuclear regime, reprocessing, enrichment, and heavy water production are considered as sensitive technologies. It allows private sector participation but maintains strategic control over sensitive technologies in line with the responsible path which India has followed in nuclear affairs. Licensing framework has to be prescribed. At the moment, the Act only says including what it will include compliance with financial, technical, management, and other organizational capability covering the aspects of design, construction, commissioning, operation, maintenance, life management, decommissioning, quality assurance, radioactive waste management, liability, security, as it may deem necessary for the entire lifetime of the facility or mine. And this licensing procedure is a work in progress. I do not know how much time it will take. But while Act allows private sector participation, there are sufficient guardrails. Any company, if the central government knows or has reason to believe that it is owned, controlled, or dominated by entities who are inimical to defense and national security or health and safety of the public, they will not get a license. It is here, it is any company, here it is any person, and this is again not unique to India. You can download the Atomic Energy Act USA. Google search the use of word inimical at how many times they have used these words in their Atomic Energy Act. Section 8 provides for suspension or cancellation of license and safety authorization. Private companies incorporated outside India are not permitted to operate nuclear facilities. Duties and liabilities have been transparently specified. Every person who has been granted a license or safety authorization under this Act shall comply with the terms and conditions of the license and safety authorization in the rules, regulations, orders, and regulatory documents issued in respect of safety, security, safeguards, quality assurance, radioactive waste management, decommissioning, and maintaining design support throughout the lifetime. This is a recognition of the fact that nuclear reactor is not a plug and play system you buy once and you forget about it. Maintaining design support throughout the lifetime of the facility. And of course, maintain sufficient security in the prescribed form of waste management, decommissioning, settlement of claims caused by radiation, etc. Overall, the Act ensures that the prime responsibility for safety, security, and safeguards lies with the licensee or the employer of the facility. General powers of the central government are very clearly stated, that is framing a national policy for safety, security, safeguards, policy for management of spent fuel, quality assurance, quality control, and establishing subordinate offices with regard to provide services related to environment surveillance, personal monitoring, dosimetry, and other matters related to radiological protection. And of course, coordinating with other government agencies for nuclear and radiological emergency. Act establishes the regulator AERB under section 17. It says that the AERB established under this act. AERB empowered for entry and inspection, conduct of investigation, separate regulation for strategic sector. It established AERA Council and ACTEL for the AERA Council consists of 4 members: Chairman AEC, Chairman CEA, Chairman AERB, and Director BARC. ACTEL, established under the Electricity Act, will be the tribunal for atomic energy. Also, it will be strengthened by having 2 nuclear experts, and beyond ACTEL, an aggrieved person can go to Supreme Court. This results in a 4-tier adjudication architecture, that is AERB is the first level, then AERA Council, then ACTEL and Supreme Court. Even for licensing, in place of AERB, it is the licensing authority, then same process will go on, 4-tier adjudication structure. Civil liability, CLND Act 2010 has been merged into it, but basic principles of liability remain the same, and basic principles are that liability is strict, based on the principle of no fault, channeled only to the operator. Liability is limited in amount and time during which claims have to be filed. Regulatory body to notify the incident, announce the accident, and the single court of jurisdiction. And the liability amounts are specified in the 2nd schedule. This is the 2nd schedule, and here it is a graded structure. Earlier there was only 3 tiers, 100, 300, and 1500. Now 2 more tiers have been introduced. Going on, right of recourse. Earlier we had A, B, C, 3 conditions. B condition has been removed. Right of recourse is left to the operator and the supplier to negotiate. They can decide it based on the specific technology under negotiation. An important point is provides for a review of liability amount having regard to deployment of nuclear installation with advanced technology and enhanced safety features. This provision is there, and if the liability beyond the 2nd schedule is placed on the central government, then just supplementary information you can see for fuel ownership, high energy radiation generating equipment, tariff, licensing terms and conditions, provision to deny a license, provision to cancel a license, and how to deal with occupation safety, health and working conditions code. All those things are prescribed. In summary, this is a single law which consolidates regulation, enforcement, civil liability, dispute resolution within a single act. At one stage, Government of India was thinking of bringing in separate NSRA Act, which specified certain duties and responsibilities. If you compare that draft and duties and responsibilities here, all those things have been merged into this act almost verbatim. The most important point is it's very transparent about duties and liability which licensees have to take up. They are not left in the dark. They have been told everything. Yes, these are your duties and liabilities. It separates permission to establish a facility from authorization to operate it safely, clear licensing regime and a statutory regulator, a 4-tier adjudication architecture, the sensitive technologies remain with the government. Act embeds safety oversight across the entire life cycle of nuclear facilities. Thank you.
Very elaborate coverage, Dr. Grover. Thank you very much. I think you have traced the historical development leading to the evolution of the Shanti Act and then covered the provisions. One of the major provision is the allowing the private parties to build up nuclear power plants. And if you trace the developments or the progress of the RFQ, which NPCIL has issued for BSRs, there are not many parties who have shown interest. We would have liked to hear from all of them about their perception and the impediments which they feel are there in this act. But today for the discussion, we have invited, besides NTPC, only Tata Power and Adani Power to share their perceptions and bring out the constraints which they feel should all be addressed in case they have to profitably participate in the nuclear power generation program. So may we start with Mr. Samal from NTPC on these aspects. It will be followed by Tata Power, Mr. Tiwari, and Mr. Vivek Sharma from Adani Nuclear Power. Samal Saab.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll share the presentation first. Yeah, my screen is visible?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I thank India Energy Forum to for
visible.
opportunity.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, please. So thank you so much. Now Grover sir was given a clause-wise the Shanti Act has explained very nicely the clause-wise the space Act, Shanti Act, which open up the sector. Just I'll correct one thing. The constraints, I don't say these constraints or whatever this. Definitely, there are some challenges that is to be taken care of to meet this requirement. The ambitious target of 100 gigawatt by 2047, but all are, I mean, addressable. So we can find a solution jointly. You can find the solution to meet the requirements. Anyway, I'll give a different perspective as a new utility. What is to be done or what we are doing. So before going forward, just for anybody who doesn't know about NTPC, or to just rephrase what NTPC and the size of NTPC and what all we are doing. So it's we are a global company now, having presence both domestic as well as international presence, and mostly our portfolio, as you know, mostly it is now fossil fuel based portfolio, but we are pursuing this transition towards the non-fossil fuel sources, both renewable, wind, hydro, and now nuclear. So total portfolio is about 120 gigawatt, both operational as well as the under construction units taken together. And all the sources of power, now we have presence in all the sources, all the form of power generation, starting from thermal to all renewables, and now the gap has been fulfilled by nuclear venture. So now coming to the nuclear sector. So this everybody knows, I'll not repeat all those things. Just one thing I want to highlight here is the 100 gigawatt roadmap, whatever drawn by Government of India, that includes all sorts of technology, possible technologies, because it is not possible to meet those targets by any one technology or by any one utility or any one company or sector itself. So it needs a multiple collaborative effort that has been identified, that has been recognized by Government of India. So out of that 100 gigawatt, as NTPC, we are planning about 30 gigawatt capacity addition through nuclear. So I'll come to the next step, what we are planning. So this is the transition we are going through. NTPC is going through this transition. So we have a target. Initially, long back, we had targeted nuclear capacity addition by 2032. It's not very recent. We have started maybe in 2008 itself. We targeted nuclear capacity addition. Of course, it was slightly delayed because of many reasons, maybe the act itself or maybe some other external factors. So still we are on target to meet the 2032 requirement, 2032 vision of having a nuclear presence. And for that, we have already started working. Thanks to DAE, thanks to Government of India, thanks to NPCL also, for transferring this MBRAPP to the joint venture between NTPC and NPCL. That work has already been started. So working on it, and very soon we have got the regulatory approvals, citing consent, EC, and level license. Everything is in place, and we are about to just start the groundbreaking, all set, and just waiting for the excavation consent from the regulator. And very soon we are expecting that all the submissions have been done. The other way, as I said, we need multiple utilities, multiple funding sources. We have a 100% owned subsidiary of NTPC also, Parmanu Urja Nigam Limited. So that has been established, and we are working with various site selection activities and discussing with various state governments, because the site selection and site characterization is the very important aspect, as Grover Sahab also pointed out. So to take care of the safety requirements. Yeah. Now coming to the SHANTI Act, I'll not go into details of it. There's already Grobers have already given detailed account of it. So what is the aim of this act? This aim of the act, there are objectives have been defined, as I said, multiple technology, multiple utility, and an overall aim of this act is to provide a policy framework which is conducive and which supports the targets of the capacity addition programs India is having. So that gives a foundation to and a business environment to start with. So that is the overall objective of this act, as I understood. The investments, providing an environment for attracting investments, both public as well as from private sources, as the investment is very huge. So no one company or only one government companies may not be able to fund that much of resources into it. So this gives opens the sector to all public and private partnership to meet this requirement. Yeah, this is the provisions of this. This is already covered, but just as a gist, the main purpose is allowing the private sector to participate and in funding, as well as resources like human resources, of course the land and other resources, providing this, of course the manufacturing sector as well, supply chain development. Then the licensing framework also needs to be strengthened, because as we open this sector, the safety and security aspects should not be compromised in any form, so that this act provides enough provisions to take care of the safety and security requirements, and strengthening the regulator, giving them more power to regulate. And the research and innovation already covered, that covers also growth. and strengthening the liabilities that has been kept that, and more such has been defined, increasing the liability for larger capacity. Initially it was flat irrespective of the size of the reactors, which has been categorized in a different segment. Then again, regulatory safeguards and dispute redressal mechanism. That is very important once these private companies come into play, private, government, whatever. So this redressal mechanism should be very strong and well defined. That has been done by this act. And the aim is, of course, the collaborative, developing a collaborative ecosystem. And it's of course, minimum risk capital inflow with minimum risk, modernized governance and market certainty, and technological diversification. These are the four pillars on which this act is being developed. I'll not go into the details of it. Yeah, these what are the still after what after SHANTI Act? SHANTI Act has already been enacted, and the rules are being framed very soon. They are working on it so that to enable further detailing of it. But certain things has to be taken care of even if after SHANTI Act is there. Some issues has to be, some challenges, I should say, some challenges has to be tackled with by the new utilities, new or old alike. This has to be taken care of. One is the most important input resources required for nuclear power plant is the site. Site means land and water requirements. That has to be taken care of. And the gestation period, very long gestation period, unlike other infrastructure projects which may last about a max of 5 years or 6 years, something like that, but it lasts a very, very long period from starting from the concept to commissioning, maybe somewhere between 12 to 13 years as per our assessment. So as the gestation period is long, the risk perception also increases, the risk per investment. That needs to be taken care of by certain mechanisms, by maybe some backup arrangements, insurances, and all those things, multiple funding sources, and of course the supply chain. Then of course at present the supply chain of Indian supply chain has to be augmented to meet those huge requirements that we need to collaborate with maybe other countries, other suppliers, these proven equipments. Maybe we have to have some technology transfer agreements, develop the infrastructure inside, manufacturing capability, because the scale we are talking about, that cannot be made by one or two manufacturers and only some certain components. We have to have a spectrum of manufacturers covering the complete spectrum of the equipments, be it a civil infrastructure, be it a mechanical equipments, or maybe in control and instrumentation, or electrical systems for that matter. So we have to have cover the complete spectrum of the manufacturing, quality assurance, and quality control. That is very important aspect on this. Manufacturer, there are a lot of manufacturers, but manufacturing nuclear quality equipment is more important here. We have to change the maybe our system, quality control systems, or may augment our systems to meet those requirements. Of course, I have already covered the financial aspect, very high capital cost investments. So you need multiple sources of funding to meet those requirements. Insurance has to be strengthened and this to be covered in all aspects. This hot component insurance, as of now, there is no concept of hot component insurance as of now in India. That has to be developed as the private parties or more and more utilities come. So definitely they have to ensure the investments. Otherwise, the risk taking capability reduces, risk appetite reduces. Then third is the technical difficulties. There are certain technical difficulties that's to be made. Certain R&D will be required to make this source of energy, that is nuclear source of energy, more compatible to the grid as well as other infrastructure, existing infrastructures. Then regulatory, so you see, once there are a lot of utilities coming up, then the load on the regulator will tremendously increase, because they have to take care of all those requirements. Evaluation of a new utility is different than evaluation of an existing and established utility, definitely. So that they need to develop, and they may have to augment their capacity capability to take care of these huge requirements. Then of course the capable workforce. This sector is a knowledge driven sector, so you need a lot of qualified and trained manpower, not only to operate, but during the construction, during manufacturing, be it quality control, or be it taking care of the codal requirements, safety requirements, all those things. That has to be developed. That ecosystem is to be developed, both by the utility. Maybe some of the utility may have to outsource those, so that infrastructure, universities has to be geared up to meet those requirements. Then fuel supply assurance, of course, this is a government, government purview as per SHANTI Act also, that rightly so. So the fuel supply is to be ensured for such a high quality, high requirement, to meet those high requirement, as well as the sovereign, security. Fuel security guarantees, that has to be devised. The method has to be devised. Then security, of course. The one aspect I would like to point it out here about the nuclear security. Once the private players comes, then, or for that matter any utility comes, then how this nuclear security aspect will be taken care of. This is a very difficult thing. Private assets taken security by maybe a different agency, by maybe a government agency. That methodology has to be devised and has to be a very foolproof system. In the nutshell, that I have already covered everything on this. This is a enabler. This provides a platform to launch and meet the requirement target set by Government of India. Thank you so much. For any questions, you may text me. Stop sharing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you, sir.
Next, Mahajanji.
Now the next speaker is Mr. C.P. Tiwari.
Yeah.
From Tata Power.
Hello. I'm just trying to project my screen. Give me a minute, please. Whether my screen is visible, sir?
Not yet, my dear Tiwari.
Not yet.
No, your screen is not. You are visible, but not any slide.
Okay. Now it is visible, sir.
नहीं तिवारी जी अभी नहीं आई है.
Not yet.
Yeah, now it is visible.
Yeah,
sir?
now it is
visible. Now it is visible. Now it's visible.
Yeah. Thank you, the forum. Thank you, Sai, and thank you, Dr. Grover, for setting the context. And I'll start my talk with the vision of our founder. Cheap and abundant electric power is one of the basic ingredients for the economic progress of a city, state, or country. I represent Tata Power. Tata Power is one of the integrated power companies present into generation, transmission, and distribution. We have 16 gigawatt of operational asset, out of which around 9 based on fossil fuel and 7 gigawatt is on clean fuel. We have 10 gigawatt of projects which are under pipeline, and mostly the clean energy project comprising of renewable hydro and PSP project. We also built on and operate transmission network, and we are presently operating more than 4,600 circuit kilometer of transmission system, and around 2,400 kilometer of circuit kilometer of transmission system is under execution. We are also there into solar cell and manufacturing, having more than 4 gigawatt of cell and module manufacturing capacity in Tamil Nadu. Tata Power welcomes Government of India's SHANTI Act 2025, as it will be one of the pivotal reform for nuclear energy sector. And this SHANTI Act is solving two major problems as private developer. One is that supplier liability issue, and another it is opening doors for private players, because these were the two issues, and there were many other things because of which it has been redrafted. Dr. Grover has already said that DAE and Government of India is already working on releasing the act and regulation for application and grant of license, terms and conditions for grant of license, establishment of nuclear liability fund, and likewise Atomic Regulatory Board is also making regulation for safety authorization, radiological emergencies, application meeting protocol, and other many specified matters in the SHANTI Act 2025. Bridging the gap, challenges in implementation of Tata Power, though whatever we see, the cost of nuclear power is very, very competitive, and sometimes it is cheaper than coal-based power also. But maybe after 2011, 2010, cost of nuclear power project has increased substantially, and capital cost of Indian pressurized heavy water reactor is in the tune of 20 to 25 crore per megawatt, whereas capital cost of pressurized water reactor is just to be established, because we don't have much project based on pressurized water reactor or light water reactor where we could have done the localization of component. And another challenge what we see is especially in nuclear power project is delay. Okay, and whatever we understand that critical component manufacturing cycle is 60 to 72 months. Lot of time is required in pre-project activities and siting, and then subsequently in project stage also the best project what could be executed was 5 years. So going forward, if we are able to curb these delays and we are able to do it in record time, then probably we will be able to reduce the capital cost. Then third and most important thing is high tariff compared to other source of power. Though if you see the present tariff of nuclear power, whatever 8 plus gigawatt NPCIL is operating, it is very much competitive compared to coal-based plant. But when we are trying to do the project appraisal for new plant, then because of very high capital cost, the cost is going more than 5 rupees or 6 rupees. Fourth is availability of skilled manpower. Everybody talks. Presently, we have only 8.89 gigawatt of installed capacity, and we are aspiring to make it 10x. Then how skilled manpower will be available for design and engineering, construction, commissioning and operation and maintenance? There a lot of support will be required with the DAE and NPCIL also. Then another is readiness of SMR technologies, because if I talk about larger reactor, then globally many proven design are available. But if somebody really the small capacity unit for captive consumption or for C&I consumer, then we don't have very much options other than the 220 megawatt Indian pressurized heavy water reactor. And whatever SMR we are talking, those are likely to come maybe after 2033, 2035. Public countries already talk, our NTPC colleague has already talked about this, and these are major challenges what we see in implementation of nuclear power plant. what support is required from Government of India and NPCIL, I'll try to cover in this slide. First, about the NPCIL RFP. NPCIL has released the RFP for Indian precise water reactor. But when we are, because presently nobody is fabricating and manufacturing the component up to 20 megawatt reactor. Even BHL was having a license for 220 megawatt turbine, and that licenses are also not available. So we need to again start developing that supply chain up to 20 megawatt reactor, and that's why we are not able to really find the real cost of 20 megawatt reactor. And then that's why we suggest that larger size reactors shall also be allowed by the private developer to be used. And then second thing, NPCIL shall support private player in various support services, because we will be doing first time this technology, so we will be requiring the support from NPCIL for site selection, pre-project activities and siting consent. Then going forward, detail design, engineering, procurement, and training of O&M manpower. Then construction, installation, commissioning, operation, and maintenance. Then third one is O&M cost, because when we were evaluating to our design, then we have noted that if you calculate, if you estimate the per megawatt cost up to 20 megawatt unit, it is much higher than 700 megawatt, because the region could be that for smaller size unit, manpower requirement remains same irrespective of the unit size. So how we can reduce the manpower cost and O&M cost up to 20 megawatt reactor, so that it becomes techno commercially viable, that is also a challenge. And since there are AERV requirement for manpower also, that how much minimum manpower is to be there. So we need to also see whether with advanced control system, whether some reduction in that front is also required. Then heavy water and fuel, especially for pressurized heavy water reactor, developer would like to have the security and heavy water security, as well as the outlook, long-term outlook of these costs, to ensure that whatever cost of generation is coming, that is within the in which I should be able to seize power. Capability building by NPCIL. So we will be requiring support from NPCIL in terms of building the capability of private developers also. Then SHANTI Act suggested measure, what we expect from DAE, NPCIL and Government of India. Number one is revisiting NP nuclear power plant siting criteria, especially considering the fact that we have limited site, and we want to put up the smaller SMR unit closer to user point, closer to C&I consumer industries. So considering the advanced and passive safety features available in upcoming nuclear plant and SMR, we request AERB to revisit the requirement of emergency planning zone and exclusion zone. And if the exclusion zone can be the plant boundary, and there is no emergency planning zone, then we will be able to locate these nuclear plant much closer to the user point. Another is our suggestion is that Government of India to frame a policy for long-term spent fuel and waste disposal. I understand that this is already being done. Then provide long-term fuel security, I already talked about. Then fourth one is digitize AERV processes and checklist based reviews, because whatever we have been discussing with the equipment supplier and developer and whoever is involved in the entire value chain of nuclear power plant, we understand that all these approval process needs to be fast tracked, so as to ensure that project is commissioned within 36 months or 44 months. Then boost domestic manufacturing. Our NTPC already talked about. We also expect that Government of India should come out with some PLI schemes especially for manufacturing of nuclear component, though it is age-old technology. But when we are increasing our installation capacity to 10x, then a lot of investment will be required in manufacturing also. And establish unified portal for our nuclear power project approval. We call a single window clearance. For many states are sometimes central government is giving single window clearance, but when you enter into one window, then many windows. So in nutshell, it is not a single window. So how we can quickly get the approval of this project is also very critical and crucial. Then transmission charge exempt nuclear power from IEF for initial few years. Scale a lot of scale is available in the market. That is one requirement, but not sure whether, especially considering the fact that nuclear plant cannot be installed near the load center, and definitely it has to be near the water and seismic condition is to be seen. So it has to be installed at a very specific location, and that's why sometime ISTS, STU, both charges and losses will be applicable. So Government of India should also consider exempting some of these components so that cost of delivered power is within a range. Then level in finance access, nuclear power shall be considered as green energy, so that all the benefit of green energy is available for financing of the project. We also propose to create a dedicated fund like NIIF to de-risk nuclear. GST can be rationalized so that project cost can be reduced. Rationalized custom duty, something has already been done in the budget. And then expand INIP nuclear insurance pool coverage. Already NTPC and Dr. Grover already talk about this. Our such measure for making nuclear power affordable. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Tiwari. Our next speaker is Mr. Vivek Sharma.
Agar Sahab, you are unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Tiwari Sahab, for bringing out the efforts being made by Tata Power.
Thank you, sir.
I have some observation on your comment that 220 megawatt turbine design is not available with BHEL. I'll discuss during the question answer session. May I request Vivek Sharma ji from Adani Power to kindly share his perceptions and the constraints which are being faced.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Can you see my slide? Is just
Yes.
Yes, your slide is visible.
Okay. In fact, most of the points have been covered by Mr. Tiwari and earlier by Samuel. Last two slides, I thought a lot of good work already has been done, so I will not reiterate few of the points which has been mentioned. But just quickly, I think for benefit of everybody, Adani is one of the leading infrastructure player. Whether in terms of our existing thermal capacity, we are close to 18 gigawatt and 26 gigawatt is under construction. Renewable also, we have a 50 gigawatt plan, out of which 16 is already underway. On transmission, we are the leading private sector transmission player. And also we are on the other critical infrastructure projects like airport and cement, and also on the manufacturing side. This just briefly, I think I will not get much into that, and how therefore we are also now look forward and geared up for the new setting up in this portfolio nuclear power plant. So in terms of just way forward, I would just spend some time on this slide, and this captures most of the points which has been discussed in the by the earlier participants. First, I think clearly in the spirit, the Shanti Act has been passed by the Parliament. I think we are looking forward for similar thing. How come rules coming and this act actually becomes operational, and rules should also have a similar, openness in terms of private sector participation, and both for the I would say not the licensing word, but in terms of permissions to establish and permission to operate. So we look forward for um, uh, those rules, which are expected, I think, in next few months, which will actually help us to implement 100 gigawatt as expected by the government of India, and therefore this act has come up. Second, full credit to the NPCIL, BARC, and DAE for decades of work for having. We are lucky that we have indigenized technology like 700 megawatt PHWR with a significant amount of supply chain, like 90 to 95% in India only localized, as Mr. Guru also mentioned. We look forward to that technology as a bedrock for achieving this 100 gigawatt, and how this will be technology will be offered to private sector is something we're looking forward to it, both in terms of the process and the authority and the institution, because this is since safety and security is paramount, as articulated by Dr. Grover. Under those safeguards by REB and DAE, we look forward to implementing for 700 megawatts as we move ahead. And therefore we are looking forward that how this entire process will get framed in terms of technology transfer to private sector. Third, I think the critical aspect is that, as mentioned by earlier prayer also, that we need a pipeline of trained manpower and skilled manpower, and we look forward institutes like BARC and NPCL or NTPC or other institutions who are going to give certified operators. We have some time till the construction period is there, so we are geared up to get those requirement fulfilled, and we look forward for the government support in terms of getting our staff trained and to operate these plants as we move along. So that's third. Fourth, and I understand the AREB is already working on some of the process, especially for standardized design, as we have 700, how we can streamline the regulatory process, both in terms of the siting requirement, and then from once the site is have a consent to FPC, if it is standardized technology, and the site is also conducive to that, how we can fast track some of those approval, which can help us implement these projects within set timelines that we want to achieve from existing. Of course, as previous mentioned, is 10 to 12 years. We need to cut down and make it to 5 to 7 years, the entire timelines. So there are many things, I think, which can go in parallel, and some can some of the reference material or earlier approval for a similar site, or for that matter, this will also apply to foreign technology. If there is concurrent review or reference review mechanism could be adopted for a faster adoption of some of the technologies in India. Fifth, earlier speaker also mentioned, I think we know there is right now NFC do provides fuel. We also look forward for this, how the fuel will be source assured, including D2O, heavy water, because I think we have adequate capacity right now, but going forward, if we are doing 100 gigawatt and PSWR is going to be the bedrock of those achieving those number, the heavy water manufacturing capacity may have to be increased. And last but not the least, this is a clean technology. We don't have any two views about it, and therefore it should be at par with the renewable energy for promoting capacity addition. Whether in terms of GST, for example, we have 18% right now GST in major equipments. For solar, it is 5%. So I see this as a low hanging, that we should consider this at par with all the benefits which green renewable energy is getting. Besides, some could be ISTS waiver, and also then long-term financing. All those things could be dovetails and can be come under the green benefits, including for the manufacturing side. Somebody has talked about that. So I think these are the 6 points I thought I'll just touch right now, that we are looking forward in terms of our from our side, what is required is we are actively looking at sites. We are actively doing all the required safety studies, which are paramount. We are also working on quality assurance program, which is important. We look forward now to getting those rules and regulation operationalized for the private sector, and also in terms of the process by which we have to uh, adopt 700 and then implement under the safeguard requirement of AREB. That's what we look forward to. Thank you very much.
I think we can have brief question answers before we request Shai Saab to sum up. One observation, Tiwari Saab, I have, you made an observation that the 220 megawatt turbine design is not available with BHEL. It's not, license is not available. Did I understand you correctly? Hello?
Mr. Tiwari, question to you.
I think he has.
No, you are muted, Mr. Tiwari.
No, I can't do that. I think he himself has.
No, that's not. He has muted himself. That is okay. Rakesh Nath, you have a question? You raise your hand. Rakesh, you unmute. Yeah.
Yes, I think one major challenge in development of the nuclear project in private sector is signing of PPAs by discoms due to long gestation period and difficulty in quoting a final tariff for a project which will take 10 years, and so many uncertainties are there. So one way forward is, I think what Mr. Shai has suggested is that the preliminary studies, feasibility studies, site selection for a few projects is carried out by centers, an NPC or some other central agency, and then those could be paid out to private sector.
Good.
May I say something, sir?
Mr. Verma?
So the major constraints I foresee is the manufacturing capacity available in the country, and therefore some drastic steps should be taken, like we took in the power sector after the 10th plan, increasing the manufacturing capacity in the country, number one. Number two, I suggest that to these organizations, Tata's, NTPC and Adani, etc., NPCL may arrange giving them some kind of a standard specification as a guideline to go ahead for design and engineering of these reactors for 220 megawatt as well as 700 megawatt, so that their job would be easy and they don't miss out any critical points as far as the specifications goes. And I do not agree with the NTPC, sir, that 11 to 12 years. NPCL has a record of commissioning Trombay 500 megawatt in a period of between 4 and 5 years, 4.5 years, because they employed the construction agencies, too many construction agencies, etc. Too many and the timely actions were taken. Therefore, if we take the proper action, the commissioning period of nuclear stations can also be reduced.
Okay. Good suggestion. Any more?
Manufacturing capacity, definitely, presently it is limited to only a few manufacturers. I think not only the capacity augmentation will have to be taken up by these manufacturers, but NPCIL or DAE may have to add more players who can manufacture the standard equipment, even if it is for 700 megawatt.
But this has to be done on a war footing, Mr. Mahajan.
Yes, but first the orders have to come. For 100 gigawatt, except for NTPC, which has got 4 into 700 for 5 on soda, no other player has been awarded any contract. So once the orders come, then only the capacity addition will take place.
We may also explore some more private parties to add the nuclear power.
Yeah, more players will have to be added.
I think there's a question from Mr. Prasenjit Paul.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for giving me the chance. Sir, two small suggestions. One is, as was brought out, that for the first few projects, to make it really viable and to make the nuclear ambition to really take off, maybe we could follow a system that we did for thermal also. Maybe a SPV could be created, and the first few project sites, the preparatory activities could be sort of pursued under a SPV, and then subsequently, like for the ultra mega projects, we could transfer the projects to the different utilities under a financial scheme for them to take up. This is one suggestion that I have, because if such an SPV was supported by the government, it would be much easier to sort of interface with all the ministries and get all the clearances in a much faster way. That is the initial clearances. The second thing is to ensure business volumes and to ensure that the supply chain really gets accelerated. Perhaps we should look at what we tried to do again during the thermal. When we tried to bring in supercritical technology, we pursued the concept of bulk tender, wherein multiple projects were bundled together and the contracts were awarded in one go, which would give the major players a business volume to negotiate for, transfer of technology and to have, establish factories in India. So these are the two suggestions that I have. Maybe we could consider them, sir.
But NPCIL did that by the fleet.
Dr. Kalol Rai has raised his hand.
Yes, sir. So this is a question specifically directed at Mr. Grover, sir. Mr. Prabhakar is also with me. He's got a very specific question. Grover, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Grover, greetings to you. It is from Prabhakar. How are you?
Good, fine. Go ahead with your question.
Actually, you mentioned about decommissioning in the Act in your presentation. I just want to understand whether decommissioning in the Act means only up to mothballing, or does it also extend up to restoration of the site fully? This is question number one. And number two, in case if it extends up to restoration of site, what is going to be the status of waste generated in the process? I am not talking of the fuel, but of other construction materials.
Yes, Prabhakaran, I got it. I'll answer. So let me take Nadaf also has hands on. Let me take that question also, then I'll answer all the things. Nadaf sir?
Yeah, okay. I have two suggestions. One is that we have talked about the fuel as a critical material supply for the power generation. But apart from that, to construct the nuclear power plants, there are some critical materials which are required. Like, for example, the forgings, which I think now the L&T forging is doing some job. But apart from that, there are materials such as stainless steel, which is not available in the country. There are some large forging for the headers, and they are not available in the country. So as we progress, the larger numbers will be required, larger quantities will be required. These are all imported. Now we do not have that kind of a supply chain available from outside. So we will be constrained. We will be constrained on these particular things. So suggestion is that the government of India should take up kind of a active role in this. They should identify what are the materials we need to import, and 100% materials has to be produced within the country, whether it is through the sale, whether we have set up a new organizations to make the forgings and things like that. Unless we do this, we will be constrained, we will be stopped in between, and therefore this is necessity. That is number one. Number two suggestion is that there are bulk materials, as Prasunjit has just said, that earlier the practice which NPCIL used to do it is to buy critical materials in bulk. Now what happens is that individual suppliers, when they approach this material procurement agencies, they look forward for minimum order quantities, and these are not easily available. Their cost also is more. The time supply is also larger, and as we see that the worldwide there is a large demand for this such kind of materials. So in the time to come, we will face all kinds of problems in getting the materials. So as earlier we had used to do this as a bulk procurement by NPCIL and then supply as a free issue material, that we should follow that particular practice so that the suppliers will be in a position to meet the timely supply of the equipment to the customer, and therefore this will be easily done up. Otherwise, we will talk on the paper, etc., but the materials will hold up. Third is there are some imported materials like consumables, etc. These have to be indigenized. Now, unless we do this in the nuclear submarine project, we did that. We did all materials like consumables, plates, etc. All indigenized. We did it, and therefore we have no problem on this construction of submarine. Similarly, the consumables have to be done up in India. If we do that, then we will face no problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Saha.
Yeah.
Mr. Saha. You are muted. Mr. Saha, you are muted.
Good afternoon, Dr. Grover, sir. Actually, I was thinking about different context, considering that so many new entries are now trying to come into the nuclear sector, and how to make some sort of enabling condition in terms of technology selection and some preparatory work. So the enabling condition, which I want to mean that many of our new entrants are away from the nuclear technology. So they are actually, it is very hard for them to select a technology. And maybe some model for them to identify maybe some guidance which the government can provide, or you want to leave it to them to select technology. And some guidelines also in terms of technology selection and collaboration. Can we think of, the department can think, or government can think of giving some sort of basic guidelines to the new entrants?
All right. Dr. Grover, now these three, four comments you can respond.
I will try to respond to some of the doubts which were indicated by Mr. Samal, Mr. Tiwari, and Adani persons. But let me see. Gestation period already, Verma Saab has responded that there have been cases by NPCIL where reactors have been constructed in 5 years. And private sector, which always says that they can, decision making is faster, they should be able to do it in lesser time. And examples do exist by NPCIL where they have demonstrated that yes, it can be done. With regard to limited domestic capability for manufacturing, yes, this is an issue which has to be addressed. I recall a few months back, there was a talk under the aegis of Indian National Academy of Engineering. Representative of a large manufacturing company gave the talk. He said, you give us a signal, we can create infrastructure in 2 years and augment our capacity. So this is the kind of confidence I find manufacturing industry has with themselves. And here, let me say that NPCIL is looking at 26 reactors of 700 megawatt. 6 reactors of 700 megawatt are at various stages of construction. Then in 2017, at a fleet mode, 10 were approved. Another 10, NPCIL is working on approvals, and very soon they will also be announced. 26 reactors of the same size, same type is a large enough pipeline of orders. It's not a small order. So this is how we have to proceed further. Fuel supply issues have been raised by many people. Private sector can negotiate with anybody outside and buy fuel, but the moment fuel comes, lands in the country, it will come, safeguards have to be applied, so government will take necessary action to take it forward. But private sector, as for the price negotiation quantities, they can talk to any other country and buy fuel. There are no restrictions in the act or anywhere. Flexible operation of nuclear reactor was listed as one condition by Mr. Samal. Yes, that condition remains, and I do not see it going away in any near future. It will remain, and we have to go in for demand side management. Demand side has to be flexed to meet that. this is something which will not go away in near future. Trained operators, yes, I think that this is a very important thing. One aspect which nobody has spoken about. Let me say that NPCIL has developed full scope training simulator for their reactors, and they are there, I think, at all sites. Operators continuously train full scope training simulators. Must remember the fact, if NPCIL has been telling data that their plants are operated continuously for 800 days, 900 days, and so on. That means a new operator will not see any plant startup. He has to be trained only on the operator. Accidents don't happen. All the accidents training has to be provided on the operator. NPCIL has not only developed reactors, they have also developed simulators indigenously. And all these training simulators are there at all sites. So this training has to continuously go, and this is a factor which all private entrants have to take note of. Then there was a questions, in someone presentation with regard to AERB providing guidelines. If you visit the website of AERB, as many as 165 guides are available for download. Whatever AERB has been doing, they have prepared guides, and those guides are available. Anyone can download them. High capital cost of PSW was indicated. Yes, it is 25 crores per megawatt, and it may come to 700 megawatt now under construction. It may be 22, 23 crores per megawatt. Yes, it is high, but since the fueling cost is low, O&M cost is low, tariff is comparable. So recommend that with regard to pressurized water reactor, the cost is unknown. But here I think I must tell you, all of you know that in India, we have expertise not only in pressurized heavy water reactors, but also in pressurized water reactors. Totally indigenous technology. As many as 3 submarines, Arihant, Arighat, and Aridman, they are on high seas. Everything has been made in the country. As Admiral Nadab just said, that even the consumables were developed in the country. The capability to do it exists within the private sector, within the manufacturing sector, within the engineering community in India. To say that, think of that, we cannot do it, we should depend upon imported technology and all that, I think we have to get out of that mindset. That if we can do that and be confident enough that they can be the sea-going vessels, why not for land-going vessels? This is not a confidential information, I'm just sharing with you. Then there was
standard specifications. Would you comment on standard
specifications are standard specifications.
Yes, yeah.
They have to have a dialogue with NPCIL. NPCIL, private company which want technology, they have to have a dialogue with NPCIL and proceed on. If they want to set up 700 megawatt, NPCIL has to be the technology provider. That dialogue has to take place between the private party and NPCIL. Government Act, SHANTI Act doesn't come in between.
I think that's okay. That's fine. Mr. Verma, see, you cannot have one standard specification for everybody to follow.
Some guidelines, sir. I didn't mean that it has to be
PLI scheme for manufacturing, then GST waiver, ISTS waiver, and so on. Let me say that with all the constraints, no PLI, no waivers which are currently there, NPCIL is still a profit-making company. They have developed technology, brought it to this level, and without any waivers of any kind, it's a profit-making company. Just take note of that. There was somewhere, I think, in one presentation, it was at revisit EZ and EPZ. I said in my presentation that AERB follows a science-based approach to regulation. Revisit EZ for what? You design something, submit that design to AERB. provide all calculations that for this design we need a smaller emergency planning zone. AERB will look at that calculation. Just saying that reduce EZ, that is not going to work. You have to have a design which is safe enough that it calls for reduced emergency planning zone, which calls for reduced exclusion zone. AERB will definitely look at it. They are following a science-based approach, but blanketly saying that wave of reduce EZ for all design, that is not possible. That is not a scientific demand. That you should never think of that way. Your design should be safe enough to proceed further. And the help should be given for technology selection. I do not know if you are going in for 700 megawatt PSWR design, that's a totally indigenous design. BARC and NPCIL have already announced that they will develop a 220 megawatt pressurized water reactor together, which also will be made available. So that will be able to, that also will be provided to anyone who is interested in that. And then there was decommissioning. I think there was one question. Decommissioning, and Prabhakaran asked this question, restoration of site. I do not know what comes in the details, rules and guidelines which they are evolved. Here we have a precedence in the country. Similar situation is there with regard to when oil well remain productive. Oil wells restoration guidelines have been promulgated by Government of India. How that fund has to be managed, that guidelines also have been promulgated by Government of India. And I'm sure when Department of Atomic Energy is looking into that details, they will examine that precedence, and similar guidelines as are there for oil well restoration will come in this case also. I think this oil well restoration guidelines were in 2000. There is 70 and 1999 on around that time they have been given here. So there are models which are available in the legislature in India. Two speakers talked about nuclear liability fund that already exists. NPCI is selling electricity, 5 paisa per unit is charge that goes to nuclear liability fund, and already 2,000 crores have accumulated in that fund. And now I think they have stopped charging last month or 2-3 months back. What new things come in the new guidelines, where it will be something like this 5 paisa per unit or something, so that that fund build up. So far, the limit given to by the government was accumulate 2,000 crores. That has been already completed. I think there were questions regarding comment was Mr. Rakesh Nath regarding signing of PPAs. I don't know. I'm not competent to answer that question.
No, because I got a comment in writing from gentleman from Torrent that if so much of megawatt is to be done, whether the distribution companies will buy the power. Of course, that as we go, that situation will emerge. So now the question is that we have the act, whether the preparation from the government side, from the Department of Atomic Energy side, is adequate to take care of the approval process. So that is one thing that needs to be looked into, because I am not very sure what type of organization Department of Atomic Energy has, or if they have left this job to Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. One is that on the site selection, the guideline, as Dr. Grover said, that guideline can be seen, and all the developers who are wanting to get into nuclear power capacity development, they can. And I am aware that many of the developers, like NTPC has shown something, Adani is doing, Tatas are doing. So definitely they are aware of the guideline, what precautions need to be taken. so that approvals of environment and others happen insofar as the siting of the plant is concerned, that water is required, the land is required, and there would be some specific expectation insofar as the site selection is concerned. So that will definitely be available. Developers will be obligated to do that, whether on water allocation and environmental clearance. Some sort of a support, like we did in ultra mega projects, some sort of a support that is provided so that these clearances are available. Similarly, facilitation by the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. Imagine the type of target that you are setting, even if 75%, 50% of that moves on now, slowly. Naturally, there will be large number of project offers and project proposals. To that extent, if the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board has the strength and has the time to do it, that can be a hold point. So now I think that act is there. What we have to identify, what could be the hold points in implementation? And first hold point, as I said, that all the developers are wise enough, are educated enough. They are taking care of site selection in a manner that will be okay for the institutions which approve. But a government coordination on these approvals, if that is put in place, like we did in case of Ultra Mega project, that can be helpful. Department of Atomic Energy wants to keep the license under their umbrella. That is a question which has to be seen. Whether the government has to keep the license arrangement under their thing, or firstly, I have raised that issue, that nuclear power is also a power generation. Under the Electricity Act, we have de-licensed generation. Approval should not be mistaken with license. There will be due process of approval. Without approval and permission, one cannot do, even if environment clearance is not there. So environmental approvals or any other approval or Atomic Energy Regulatory Board approval, whether you should term it as license is an issue, because that slightly conflicts with what is the spirit of de-licensing power generation in the country. So that point has to be that we will take up separately with Ministry of Power and Department of Atomic Energy. I have myself seen that provision. Perhaps that thought was not given in the manner that it could have been given, because it conflicts with those obligations, those stipulations. As I said, that by not using the word license, you are not deprived of the authority to give or not to give permission. So giving permission and giving approval need not be always called licensing. Licensing is a thing which India sort of removed long back. We were in license Raj and economy did not develop. And therefore, licensing was removed. Power generation was also license Raj, we did not develop. So that is one point that needs to be done. So I think there is some action on the part of Department of Atomic Energy. All actions, in fact, even if it has to be done by the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. The supportive action can be, because today, only experience that is available in power generation through nuclear energy is with the Nuclear Power Corporation, which have done a tremendously good job. There is no doubt about it. And therefore, how that is available in some way, long back I had suggested that they could set up a consulting arm, and that consulting arm is available for services to be given to others, so that they all go there and they are on the same wavelength. If not, then I think Department of Atomic Energy should be instrumental, something akin to what we have in Central Electricity Authority, as a part of Central Electricity Authority or under their own umbrella. Otherwise, how are they going to approve these things? If the technology has to be approved, if whole thing has to be approved, and as I said, that license has to be given, even if license word is not used, approval has to be given, then to have the desire to approve, one should equip oneself to have the wherewithal, where the organization to do it, if we want so many proposals to be processed. Otherwise, it will remain hanging there. I think on the operating part, one suggestion could be made, that now since NTPC has come on the scene, your Adanis have come on the scene, Tata Power have come on the scene. Today we have the three of them. There are a few others also who are wanting to get into nuclear power, but the number will be not more than maybe 5, 6, or in any case less than 10. Department of Atomic Energy, Ministry of Power, Central Electricity Authority could have a discussion how to operationalize. Operationalization today has to be one way, it will be to control process. Another way is to facilitate the process. Control process will not allow you to get anywhere near the figure that we are targeting. Facilitative process, and for facilitative process, those departments or organizations will have to be equipped, will have to be strengthened. Then only they can do it. Otherwise, we will hear from them, what can we do? We are not having a staff, etc., etc. So I think one suggestion that we can definitely make, a very polite suggestion, that let them have a discussion with these 5, 6, 7, 10 organizations which have shown interest on the specifics that can be mutually acceptable, that can be, again, because we need them. More than them, we need even financiers. If we keep everything uncertain, one clause you said that license can be delicensed. Now, if it's as simple as that, if it can be delicensed, then the financiers will be the last person to sort of, let us recognize that nuclear power generation is not something very new to the world. We are very little in this country, but so far the world is concerned, nuclear people are used to doing nuclear power generation. So we cannot horrify the whole system that we will delicense. Why should anybody delicense? If the process is in place and if inspection is carried out, now these are the words which frighten financiers and which will frighten the organizations. It's all like nuclear power corporation, government organization, highly protected. They are not even in the capital market. I suggested they should be in the capital market. If you are in the capital market, then these are the words which are hated by financiers. That your license can be delicensed, then where are you? Then whole investment, where does it go? Lenders will be in it. So I think these are the things which have to be very candidly and clearly discussed. And whatever approaches have to be decided, can be decided. We will discuss it separately in our group, Dr.
Yeah.
So far as we are concerned,
These questions, all these questions you are raising, there are reasons for everything, and everything is written in the Act. I must say that Atomic Energy Act 1962 did not provide any transparency about these things because these developments are later. NPCIL, being a PSU, was following all those things. I see that NTPC is preparing itself well in that direction, but the private sector, to me, it seems they are underprepared. They have to work further on these issues and proceed further. And I emphasize one thing at this point, that when it comes to technology development, Indian industry, both private and public sector together, have demonstrated their competence. Now they have to demonstrate competence to scale it up and proceed further.
And it has to be a cooperative process in which, according to me today, balance of convenience is not with the Department of Atomic Energy. My old core reading is that it is controlling more than facilitative. I gave you an example. 1 minute. I gave you an example. When we were evolving this act, an act was put in place, and then we were doing the policy, electricity policy. I gave you in my beginning comments, 100,000 megawatt thermal initiative, sites pre-feasibility reports were available. So therefore, that is a facility. The question is whether government wants investment, government wants public sector and private sector, or does not want. And therefore, we have to see how we make it move. Good thing is that this act is in place. Now the detailing of the procedures, processes, rules, etc. have to be done. And government definitely has to be conveyed what needs to be conveyed. That if you want it, balance of convenience is not with the government. Government cannot do 100,000 megawatt nuclear power on its financing. It needs financiers, bankers, global bankers to help our developers. It is not the first time we are going through that process. Other industries have developed globally as well as in India. So therefore, this feedback has to be very clearly and very politely, no doubt, have to be conveyed to the Department of Atomic Energy, that if you need them, then you have to listen to them. Not that you should agree with making it freelance sort of thing, but we should listen to them and make it happen. We have done it. In power, we have done it already. We have done it, and you are reaping the benefits of this. We listen to them. We listened to them and we facilitated. We created institutions and mechanisms to facilitate this. It has happened in India. We created. So whatever has to be conveyed needs to be conveyed, and it is not a this or that. Question is, it has to be a mutually cooperative process. Now, private sector, public sector cannot ask for the moon. Everybody wants financial support, this incentive. Where the tariff will go? Tariff will go very high. Where from that money will come? So it has to be, finally, if it does not justify the tariff, on the ground of tariff, then people will reject it. Because mind you, finally, there is a choice to the distribution companies to buy power, not to buy power. Solar got justified not because of solar. Solar got justified when solar became 2 rupee 50 paise or 3 rupees. So therefore, there is a value to which people will go, but they will not go beyond that value. So we'll have to see that. So I think even private sector cannot ask for moon, little bit of support by way of sort of excise or customs duty or things like that. That is definitely, like in mega projects, we allowed that customs duty to be waived, sales tax to be waived. Those are the things that can be done. So I think we will again discuss in our own group. One is, you have two caps, Grover sir. You have a cap of chairman of the energy vertical of India Energy Forum. You have a cap of your existing position in the authority. So I think we will discuss this, and we will also discuss a little more with the limited group of private sector people who want to get into, including NTPC. If you remember, in one of our conferences, we brought NTPC chairman exclusively. At that time, Department of Atomic Energy was scared about inviting, giving anything to anybody about 3 years back. And we made NTPC chairman suggested, are you keen to get into this or not? And he made very clear that NTPC is keen to get into the nuclear power. So therefore, we will do our own job in our group with you and with these 4, 5, 6 private sector and public sector organizations, and try to make a list which is reasonable from both sides, balanced. It is not that they ask for the moon and the Department of Atomic Energy wants to control. I mean, with control mechanism, but just by putting the act, I don't think you will get the benefit. So I think let us close this and.
Sir, I want to say something that do we have to learn some lessons from US, where most of the nuclear power generation is in the hands of private sector?
Verma Sahab, now that part is over. Now vote of thanks by with Mr. Mahajan.
Okay. I'll discuss it separately.
It's been a very absorbing session, followed by excellent presentation on the evolution and establishment of the Shanti Act, and then the discussions by NTPC, by Tata Power, and by Adani Power on the preparation which they are making, the constraints which they are feeling. I personally agree with Dr. Grover that capability is available for the manufacture of equipment. Only capacity augmentation will need, especially 700 megawatt. A lot is already ordered and they are being manufactured by the Indian industry. And if more orders are there, the capacity build-up will be required. Mr. Nadav made one observation that welding consumables need to be developed. To the best of my knowledge, except for cobalt-based alloys which go into the hard facing, I think all the materials for the welding consumables like 304, 304L, 308, 316, 347, they are indigenously manufactured. So the industry is well prepared to meet the requirement of enhanced power capacity from nuclear power. Only thing is that we may have to move fast. If 100 gigawatt has to be achieved by 2047, orders should be there in the market. With these words, I would like to thank all the speakers for making very elaborate presentations. And as Shai Saab mentioned, we'll have more discussion on the specific issues so that the entire process can be speeded up. Thank
I
you
will
very
invite Dr. We will invite Dr. Grover in that discussion as the online.
Yes, sir.
Discussion. Yeah. Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay. Thanks. We close this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thank you very much.
Hey, we had one of the largest participation number. Very
Yeah,
large.
more than 100 today.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dr.
sir.
Grover, because of your name, that participation is so high.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So
100
sir, you have
gigawatt is
concluded the session very well, sir.
100 gigawatt is possible.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, have a nice day, please.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.